Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. In today's video, I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and instead of doing my top 36, I'm going to narrow it down to the top 30 options. Now, we're still going to go over notable omissions as usual, but as we get into crunch time, in the most crucial point of the season when we're heading for those playoffs, I want to make sure that we're just getting the very, very best in what's available so that you don't have to make any decisions that you might regret. We want to make sure that you are fully prepared so that you can absolutely crush your opponents and get that playoff spot on your way to the chip. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below. I would love to be able to help you out with them. If you are new to the channel, welcome, and please like and subscribe. I appreciate it so much. I'm almost halfway there on my goal to get my first 100 subscribers. With that all set and done, let's get into Week 12's running back rankings. As a friendly reminder, I am doing this all in half-point PPR. And back up top, at number 1, coming off a monster performance last week, I have Jonathan Taylor. He is at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And really, could he be ranked anywhere else? What Taylor did last week against the Bills was extraordinary. He was as dominant as I have seen a back be. There is no matchup that you are worried about with him, clearly. Tampa Bay is going to have their hands full. Christian McCaffrey travels to Miami this week, and he is my second ranked player. McCaffrey has back-to-back finishes in the top 5, and he racked up 154 rushing yards and 126 receiving yards in those 2 games. The Dolphins are bottom 10 in yards per rush attempt over the last 3 weeks, and their offense is much better with Cam Newton at the helm. At number 3, it is Dalvin Cook. He travels to face the 49ers on the road. Cook is just continuing to roll. He now has 3 straight games, finishing as an RB1. He has 52 touches in his last 2 games, and so he pairs that elite usage with his talent, and he can take it to the house on any given touch. With this game likely being the make or break game for the Vikings playoff hopes, I bet Zimmer absolutely runs him into the ground. He has a massive workload here. If it wasn't for Jonathan Taylor's performance last week, we would have been talking about this next guy. It's Austin Eckler. He's in at 4. He travels to Denver to play the Broncos. Now, they're allowing the 5th most yards per carry over their last 3. So Eckler has an opportunity for an encore after his 4 touchdown performance. Pound for pound is going to try to make it 7 top 10 finishes in 11 tries this week. Another back who has been on fire as of late, in at number 5 and rounding it out is Joe Mixon. He stays at home in a huge AFC North clash and faces the Steelers. My aggressive ranking of Mixon last week was spot on, and he made it 4 out of 5 with a top 5 finish. The Steelers are banged up all over the place on defense and have allowed 5.8 yards per carry in their last 3, which is 3rd worst in the league. It would be disrespectful to take him out of my top 5 with what he has done as of late. As we move on, it's Nick Chubb. He goes on the road to face the Ravens. Chubb has been on fire over his last 2 games, finishing as RB3 and RB4 overall. This is a solid matchup, and Chubb is likely to see 20-plus carries in it. This will make it 3 100-yard games in a row if he can pull it off, and I think he does. Another stud who has been going absolutely crazy over the last couple weeks is next at 7. It's DeAndre Swift. He stays at home to face the Bears. With 266 rushing yards in his last 2 weeks, Swift has elevated, even as the Lions have fought as hard as possible for that number 1 pick. His workload will continue to be massive against Chicago. Mr. Consistency, Najee Harris, is next at 8. He goes on the road to face the Bengals. Now, Harris once again finished as an RB1, but he did see his workload deteriorate quite a bit from what he is used to. I think he sees closer to the 22 touches that he is averaging on the year and a lot more than the 17 that he saw last week. He will be needed heavily against that Bengals team. A.J. Dillon gets the Rams at Lambeau. He's next here at number 9. Now, we did not see exactly what we were hoping for in a monster performance from Dillon. However, he certainly did not disappoint. He's going to be relied upon heavily here, and he should put up solid numbers once again, even in this tough matchup. Rounding out my top 10, I have James Robinson. He gets to stay at home to face the Falcons. Robinson should not have to worry about a poor game script in this one, and even though he had that issue last week, he was still able to fall into the end zone and save owners' days. Atlanta allows the 5th most points per game to backs, so he should eat just fine in this one. Now my last two RB1s I might be a little higher on than others, but I just got a feeling that this is their week to come through in a big way. At 11, I have Darrell Henderson Jr. He goes on the road to face the Packers. I believe that he bounces back after a couple so-so weeks and then the bye. I think he responds in a big way against Green Bay, who have allowed just 3.5 yards per carry in their last 3 games. He's going to see more passing work too now that Woods is gone, which only helps his upside. Flying all the way up to number 12, I have my main man, my ride or die, Antonio Gibson. He's at home against the Seahawks. Gibson may be heating up for owners at just the right time, and this matchup with Seattle should help that continue. The Hawks are allowing over 30 points to running backs on the year, which is 2nd worst in the league. With 43 carries in his last 2 games, it could be a monster day for Gibson. Falling a little bit in my rankings is Ezekiel Elliott. He's here at 13. He faces the Vegas Raiders at home on Thanksgiving. Now, that nagging knee injury that he has been dealing with that also pulled him out of the game against the Chiefs is certainly concerning. He did practice on Friday, so that is good news for owners. However, because of that, I think that Pollard gets more usage, and with the other weapons around him also banged up, I think that this start carries more risk than I would like, and therefore I drop him from my RB1s. As we move on to number 14, it is David Montgomery. He faces the Detroit Lions on the road. Now, I do have concerns with this offense under Andy Dalton. However, Monty's workload combined with the excellent matchup are enough to propel him here. If Justin Fields is a go this week, he could rise a little bit on my Friday rankings. At 15, I have Saquon Barkley. He stays at home to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, between a poor game script and the limiting of his overall workload that was likely to happen on Monday night, it was a fairly quiet return for Barkley. Philly is not going to make it any easier. They allow the 2nd fewest points per game to backs over their last 2 games. In at 16, it is Cordarrelle Patterson. He goes on the road to face the Jaguars. The Jags have softened up front over their last 3, and Patterson will be heavily utilized after this offense completely tanked without his dual threat ability against the Patriots. Next up, it is Josh Jacobs. He gets Dallas on the road. He is my 17th ranked player. Jacobs has finished in the top 20 in 4 out of his last 5 games, and that is mostly due to his work in the passing game. Now, the Cowboys are allowing just 21 points a game to backs, so he's going to need that type of usage again here as he chases that turkey leg, especially with how the Raiders' offense has been sputtering. At 18, it is Leonard Fournette. He faces the Colts on the road, and he struggled mightily against that Giants front on Monday night, but his passing game usage saved owners' days. I expect that same type of workload and usage here as this Colts team is allowing the fewest points per game to backs. In at 19, I have Elijah Mitchell. He stays at home to face my Vikings. Mitchell looked like he was really close to being able to make it a go last week, so I will rank him here for now in what is an excellent matchup with Minnesota, who allow the most yards per carry to backs and 11th most points per game. Damian Harris is the last player in my top 20. He stays at home to face a struggling Titans team. The Patriots' backfield headache may be back, but Harris is still the top dog for now. It's possible that the Patriots were just managing his workload in his first game back from that concussion, but I don't trust Bill Belichick one bit, so there is risk here. My next 2 ranked backs both come out of the Denver Bronco backfield. They stay at home to face the Chargers. And the first one that I have ranked at 21 is Melvin Gordon III. He is averaging over 15 touches in his last 3 games, and the Chargers give up the 4th most yards per attempt on the season. He hasn't finished lower than RB27 in 5 straight, so I love that floor upside combo here. Then we move to Javonte Williams, and he continues to play second fiddle to Gordon just a bit, so we wait for that breakout, and that continues. At this point, it may never come, but a guy can dream. Until then, I'm going to bank on his talent. All the way up at number 23, I have Tony Pollard. He stays at home to face the Raiders. With Amari Cooper out and CeeDee Lamb needing to clear the concussion protocol in just 4 days, as well as the knee issue that Zeke is dealing with, I think that Pollard sees increased usage in a big way, and he's shown more than capable with just a limited role. Miles Sanders is next at 24 as my last RB2 of the week. He faces the Giants on the road. Sanders was awesome in his return against a stout New Orleans front, but ball security was an issue as he lost one fumble and nearly lost a second. If he stays out of the doghouse, he will find success against the Giants. The last player in my top 25 is Mark Ingram. He stays at home against the Bills. While Alvin Kamara did not practice on Monday, and with a quick turnaround, I have a feeling that it's going to be Ingram in New Orleans for at least one more game. After what JT just did to the Bills last week, maybe there's more opportunity than we would have initially thought. Finding himself back up in my rankings for the first time in at least a couple weeks, it's Ty Johnson. He's 26. He faces the Texans on the road. Now with Michael Carter missing at least a couple weeks, with that ankle injury, Johnson is going to see a mightily increased workload. I have some concerns, Jets, but the usage should be enough to squash any of that. At number 27, it's Devonta Freeman. He gets Cleveland at home. And it looks like Freeman is the lead back here, even with Latavius Murray coming back from that ankle injury. I don't know how long that lasts exactly, but the Browns are allowing 5.5 yards per carry in their last 3, which is 4th most in the league. We move on to Ramondre Stevenson. He is my 28th ranked player at home against Tennessee. The rookie continues to impress and now has 3 straight RB2 finishes. He may be splitting with Damian Harris, but the last 2 games he has done so, he's racked up 25 touches. As we move next, it is 29 and Myles Gaskin gets the Panthers at home. Capitalizing on an excellent matchup, Gaskin finished as the RB10 overall last week on 26 total touches. Carolina is a different animal, and Gaskin doesn't have solid back-to-back finishes all year. The last player on my list at 30, I have Alex Collins. He goes on the road to face the football team. Collins isn't close to having this backfield all to himself, and if he was going to get vultured like last week consistently, then he may have to drop from my rankings entirely. As we get to my notable omissions, I have 3 for you guys now. The first one I want to talk about is J.D. McKissic. He gets Seattle at home. His calling card all season has been his usage in the passing game. However, that has dwindled over the last 2. He's only tallied 6 targets combined. Zach Moss is next. He goes on the road to face New Orleans. The Bills may not even try double-digit carry attempts against a New Orleans front that is allowing a league-best 3.4 yards per carry on the season. The final player I'm going to look at is Jeff Wilson Jr. He gets my Vikings at home, and he did not do a whole lot to carve out a role for himself. He had just 50 yards on 19 carries last week against Jacksonville. And that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, if you have any questions, please drop them down below. I would love to be able to help you out so we can dominate our opponents this weekend. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Your support means the world to me in my road to my first 100 subscribers. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Abraham Opatz, and we'll see you next time.